Yo, okay, I did it. I said something different.
Yo.
Yes. Yo, what's happening? We're here today with Savannah and her new haircut. Okay, so obviously it's not her real haircut. You can tell because her hair is much too thick to look that thin. But we are going to show you all the layers today. So we want to show you how to curl on someone else, the difference between how you curl on shorter layers versus longer, you know, how these things are working, and try and answer all the answers for all the lengths and all the curls. So we're gonna start with I'll show you one of the big tricks we use when we're curling on bob length hair, and then we'll have Savannah do it since she's used to curling on herself, so you can see the difference between, you know, our tip and then also how you do it on yourself. So we're going to start with 375 because that's Savannah's temperature. So 375 comes up here on the one next to 400. So we're going to start by showing you the difference between why you would maybe put a beach wave versus the curly curl in when you have a bob like this. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to curl hers all the way through. Sorry, Savannah, that I have to do this to you.
Oh, me.
But I want to show you how and why we usually do more of a beachy wave to get the curls we want on this length. So you can see how if you got a curly curl, what that's going to do to a bob, right? You're gonna have like the Shirley Temple bob look. So we don't want to turn
hair was down here. Like,
yeah,
that's crazy.
Even with this.
Yeah.
So what we really want you to look for to have a more modern look, of course, if you're doing a certain look, you can utilize this curl. But we'd like you to go in, you just go in, rotate, and then you draw down the ends. And when you do that, you can get a more subtle curl, one that looks more like what we're going for right now, what's current, what's in style.
And it'll blend well with your other, if you do have layers, it'll help blend in with that as well.
So you can see the difference between carrying through the curl and how it starts winging out versus drawing down the curl to get it to lay down for you, because we want it to look more towards this laying down in the front. So why don't you show them how you do that on yourself with this curl? And what I think one of the great points at the end of this will be that you can see how all the curls come together at the end, so you don't have to be overly cautious about how you do it. So you see how she kind of draws down on it. She knows these pieces in the front don't want to be real curly and winging out. So she knows that she likes to take it over to the side and then down. Yep. And that's how we like to continue curls. Why don't you do one more on this one and really elongate it?
If this was my haircut and I was having a bob like this, I would definitely, I think, angle it more straight down. Whereas with my layered pieces, I typically have them like wing out a little bit more.
And I would want like a very subtle curl in it. So why don't you show us a really subtle curl? So
I'm just barely put a little bit of a curl in there.
That's an awesome look for a bob length. So you see she had little rotation and she's just traveling more down and vertical than she is forward and pushing out to get a nice full curl. So everybody, this is her left side. So when I'm curling on her left side, we're both pointing down with the iron. So there's many ways you can think of it. You can think of it as thumbs up, thumbs down. You can think of it as your hand next to her head, your hand over her head. So find what works for you. There's many, many different ways to think about it. But what you need to know is on the right, your iron is pointing up. On the left, it's pointing down. You can think of it like a rooftop. Many, many, many ways to look at it. Okay, so let's carry through one curl on this side again to show you what it's like, and I'll put it in the back again. So on this side, you see how the guide is facing her. We're rotating and just carrying forward, and I'm going through the whole curl. Now that last end I kind of let fall out a little bit, and you can see this part of it fell out a little more, and that's more what we normally like, and this part stayed curly, so you'll see it'll wing out a little bit more on this length of hair. So that's why we're really looking to have you elongate the curl when you're on a bob length. So this time I'll draw down on it and show you what that looks like.
And I think that this is really cool about the TYME Iron because it's something that's pretty unique to this tool. The fact that you are able to draw down your ends like that instead of just releasing them, that can be a little harsh sometimes.
Yeah. So now we're going to show you how to do it on yourself. So she's going to go in, rotate slightly, and then draw down on it. And then the next one after that, she'll rotate even less and draw down more. Okay. Did you see her rotation is very subtle? Her thumb goes from like here to here. Okay, so subtle turn, very subtle. Okay, perfect. Super subtle turn, elongate down. And then you'll get your elongated, nice bob look. Okay, so we're going to move to the second length, which is a mid-length. So next length is this medium length, and you'll see how that's more like an elongated bob, or it might also be like just past shoulder length. So there's just a lot of different variations in here. I'll show you the same thing, how I'm going to do it on someone else, and then I'll give Savannah some pieces and she can show you how she does it on herself. So on the right side, your thumb's pointing up, you have the light in the mirror, you go ahead and rotate, and then you're just going out or forward, depending on what's comfortable for you, and then you draw down at the end. And that really gives you a nice, perfect curl. See how she's got this section, so she's pulling it forward, it keeps her comfortable, and it also shows you how to hold the hair, okay? So you really want to be comfortable and hold the hair forward. That doesn't create slack when you start moving the iron forward, and it creates less
So your
chaos
section will
in the
be
curl.
taut, and you won't have that gappage in the top, and so all of that hair will curl really smooth.
Okay, so she's going to pull forward. She's going to start up here. You watch how she rotates her light forward, and then she goes forward, and then she starts dropping down. You see how she starts dropping down, and that is what we're talking about. So she goes from this to this, and that's really what we're talking about. Keep the tip of your iron up, or on the left side we'll show you the difference, but it's basically you'll have it at an angle, you're pushing forward, and then all of a sudden you drop down. Let's do the left side. So on the left side, no matter if you're curling on someone else or if you're curling on yourself, you tip the iron down. So you can think of it as you're rainbowing over your head, you can think of it as your hand over your head, or you can also think of it as pointing the iron down. However you think of it, you just have to know that the motion is the same. Everything is the same. It's just the position you start in is different. On this side, you see how I'm tipping the iron down and I'm coming up with my elbow. That gives me the curl going away from her face. And then there's many ways I can go back towards myself. I can go down. There's all kinds of ways to get the curl that I want, but I just want to use that basic motion. If you notice, when you're curling, watch what happens. All it does is this right here is what shapes your curl. So you can look at this as your curling rod or your curling iron. This is what shapes your curl. So however it looks on there is how curly it's going to be.
So you can still see my power button in the mirror, rotating back.
Perfect. Okay, so let's go with the, that is
Like a
classic,
mullet.
that is such a mullet. Let's hurry and get curling. Okay, so one of the things that we really love to help you with is sectioning hair in a new way. So the old way of sectioning was put a bunch in a ponytail and you have to go up, get a clip, do all this extra stuff. So we found a way to kind of hack that system. So what we do is we split everything down the middle, and then, go ahead and grab your first section that you normally grab, Savannah.
So I would grab.
So
here.
see, she grabs that one, that piece. It's at the nape of the neck. So go ahead and curl that one. So on the right, she's going to go back to pointing the iron up, seeing the light in the mirror, turning the light forward, move forward. And that's it. So now she's curled her middle back right.
Yep. And then if I was done with that piece, I would just throw it back over my shoulder like that.
And then let's
And
show
then
you what that looks like.
You can see
So there you can see her curl just sitting in place cooling. Okay, great. And so she drops down the ends. You see she's got a lot of layers in that piece, so that's how you would curl it. If you're dealing with a lot of layers, you just start drawing down as soon as you're hitting those layers so they don't wing out on you, and that will shape them into place to just merge and blend, but still give you volume.
Yep, and I think that this one little piece, I dropped out of the iron a little too soon. So I can just take that piece and throw it in with my next section.
Why don't you take a big section to show them how big of a section you can work with? Okay.
That might be a little too tall.
Try it. Let's see.
Yeah, let's try. I can try it.
Let's see. So when you're working with a taller section like that, basically the way it works is you just won't get as much curl and volume right at the base of your scalp. So you'll just get it starting a little bit later because you just won't get the heat on most of that.
I just need to make sure that I really throw that hair behind the iron. And then I'm leading with my tip here because that's going to feed it back into the iron. But once I start to get towards the end, it's a little bit easier to keep it in. So I can still draw it down.
Yep. So when you're working with huge sections like that, sometimes you'll tip the iron a little funny. You can just regroup with the piece and then push the tip forward. Pushing the tip will not allow it to go out of the top. So why don't you throw your hair over and I'll show them how that middle sectioning, so you can see how much of her hair she's curled. Okay, so now we just go through and curl the other half.
That's not always what we're going for.
Yeah. So do you see how she just moved her head out of the way? That was an easy way to like get around like having to...
And that's kind of a habit of mine. I know that we try and teach like to come in front, but I just, for some reason, I still always come here. And I don't know if it is because I have that more of that lean back angle, but I just prefer it that way.
Yeah, you can see how this piece has short pieces up here and then long pieces down here. And just watch how you treat it like a sheet of paper in the beginning. You pull it forward. So you just stay next to your head and then you're going to start elongating right away. Or she turned it into a lean back curl a little bit sooner. And that's how she's tucking those ends from winging out. So if you don't want your layers to wing out, you can switch to a lean back curl, or you can elongate the curl by just drawing down. If your section of hair is here and you come in really far in and you're missing the plaits, you see how you won't get curl? If you start with it just barely at the tip of the iron, and then when you're using, I'm trying to think of how you would do it, you would probably tip it funny. So when you tip it more forward, you could lose it out of the ends. So really you're looking to put it right on the middle of the plates, rotate, and you can guide it with your left hand. Your left hand can be a really good guide. So for those of you who are left-handed, who are concerned your left hand doesn't have stuff to do, believe me, it has a lot to do.
I'm left-handed.
Yeah, if you choose to do it.
Yes.
So you can really guide your hair really well with the left hand.
Instead of going.
Do you want to talk about how you did your bangs too, Savannah? We had a couple of people asking.
I just blow dried my bangs today.
And what did you use to blow dry?
I used the triangle brush and the round brush.
Okay, well thanks so much for joining us today. We hope you learned tons about all the curls on all the lengths today. We'll see you next week with probably our TYME Iron giveaway. So
and we'll be traveling to LA next Wednesday as well.
Oh,
so.
wow. Are we?
Yes.
Are we going to be able to go live?
I think we should be able to. We'll just have to plan around it. We'll make it work. It's worth it.
Okay. You're worth it. You're worth it. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Bye.